Picture the night. A sultan waits in his palace, reclining on pillows of gold. Behind the door, she stands. Her skin is laced with rose and musk. Her dress is not a dress, it's a whisper on her body. She doesn't speak. She steps in. One move, and no one breathes. One glance, and the world disappears. In this video, you'll discover how Eastern concubines turned seduction into an art form. How a single motion could conquer a ruler. How scent, gaze, and touch became weapons more powerful than any sword. You've never seen anything like this. Hit play, and don't say you weren't warned. She walked into the room barefoot, wrapped in a cloud of fragrance. And within an hour, the entire palace knew her name. The harem wasn't just a place of beauty. It was a stage. A place where women performed dramas of desire, elegance, and silent power. To catch the sultan's eye, beauty alone was never enough. You had to be unforgettable. Every gesture she made was rehearsed. Her smile, not merely charm, but a trap. The tilt of her hand, not a movement, but an invitation. These women didn't just attract, they captivated. For one night, for one chance, they practiced for weeks. Because if he remembered you, you became a legend. If not, you vanished into nothing. She lay in rose petals like falling into an embrace. The oils didn't just coat her skin, they melted into it. Into her breath. Her walk. Her every movement. The women of the harem knew, scent is the oldest sense. It doesn't wait. It invades. That's why they turned their bodies into vessels of fragrance, the kind that lingers in a man's mind long after she's gone. Amber, thick, like warm honey. Musk, raw, wild, with a hint of danger. Rose, soft and sweet, like a kiss just below the ear. Combined, it was a potion no man could resist. Before stepping into the sultan's view, they warmed their skin. Applied oils where the pulse was closest to the surface, wrists, behind the ears, the curve of the knees. As she walked past, the air itself shimmered. It wasn't perfume. It was a snare. A ghostly trail that pulled him deeper, even if it led to ruin. Nothing in the harem was accidental. Each woman was a living bottle, filled with longing. There were no buttons on her dress. No zippers. Nothing to undo, because there was almost nothing there. She wore fabric that didn't hide, but hinted. A translucent veil that slid across her skin like smoke. One breath, one shift of her shoulder, and it slipped, as if responding to her will. Harem garments weren't sewn, they were sculpted. Cut to follow the body, not to cover it, but to tease it. Sometimes, a single ribbon held everything in place. Sometimes, the entire outfit hung from the delicate curve of her collarbone. When the sultan's eyes landed on her, the outfit came alive. Their waistband dipped just a bit lower. A slit in the fabric opened wider with each step. Everything felt accidental. And nothing was. Then came the adornments. They weren't worn. They were tied. Gold chains wrapped around her waist, her thigh, her wrist. Warm from her skin, moving with every breath. Sometimes they were the only thing she wore. Sometimes, they only made it more obvious how little there was. It wasn't clothing. It was illusion. An invitation. A promise of what might come, or never would. When she stepped into the center of the room, everything stopped. The music hadn't started yet, but the tension was already there, thick, electric. Belly dance wasn't just movement. It was an ancient language. A silent code of seduction where every sway of the hips asked a question, and every spin whispered the answer. She didn't dance for the crowd. She danced for one man. And he knew it. Her hips moved like she was floating in warm water. Her shoulders barely shifted, as if a breeze passed through her. Her belly pulsed, like the breath of the earth. She controlled time itself, stretching each moment, filling it with tension, with heat, with promise. The golden coins on her belt didn't just jingle, they sang. Each one had weight. When she stepped, they whispered. When she spun, they struck in rhythm with her heartbeat. They weren't ornaments. They were instruments of attention. Drawing the eye. Holding it. Never letting go. Women studied this dance for years. They were taught to speak without words, with a glance, a hip, a breath. Every motion had to be slow, sultry, precise. When the Sultan watched, he didn't just watch. He drifted. Because the dance left no exit. It pulled him in. Into her rhythm. Into her intent. Into her power. The harem was like a vast theater, with hundreds of actresses preparing for a single role, to be the Sultan's chosen one. But there was no script. No rehearsal. And no second chance. Every evening could be the moment. The women didn't wait, they trained. Practiced their walk, soft, like floating. Refined their gaze, sultry, never desperate. A look that invited, but never begged. Even touch, rehearsed on silk, on petals, on each other. The selection was like a casting, but in a world where beauty was only the ticket to the first room. After that, the real game began. The rules were secret. Passed in whispers. From one woman to another. And not to everyone, only to those with potential. The most dangerous women weren't the youngest. They were the seasoned ones. Senior concubines, those who had once captured the Sultan's attention. They didn't just live in the harem. They ruled it. And they trained the new ones. They taught how to appear at the right moment. How to speak with your body. How to enter a room so no one forgets. How to leave, so he'll crave your return. They weren't mentors. They were masters of the game. And every new girl knew, before she could reach the Sultan, she had to survive them first. A concubine's skin didn't just glow, it shimmered. Soft, flawless, it seemed unreal. Not made of flesh, but of petals and silk. They said her touch could steal the breath from a man's chest, and they weren't wrong. In the harem, ancient body care rituals were passed down in whispers. Recipes from Persia, India, the Far East. Fig masks. Pomegranate oil rubs. Baths perfumed with jasmine petals. They didn't treat the body, they enchanted it. But the real magic wasn't just in the skin, it was in the touch. The way her fingers moved, reading the surface like a secret script. Each motion practiced for hours. How to graze silk. How to extend a hand, how to trace, fast, featherlight, or slow, like teasing. They practiced on anything that felt alive, on silk, on water, on each other. Sometimes, on mirrors. To see themselves. To study how desire bloomed in a single gesture. They had tricks, too. Little sensual illusions. A fig brushed across the cheek, soft, wet, suggestive. A drop of oil rolling down the shoulder, not wiped away, but allowed to wander, slowly, along the curve of the body. These women didn't touch. They caressed. Like wind. Like thought. Like a spark of longing just beginning to burn. And that's why a single touch could haunt a man forever. Sometimes, one night was enough to change a destiny. If a woman truly captured the Sultan, not just his eyes, but his thoughts, her life transformed. By morning, she was no longer just a concubine. She could become his favorite. And if she bore him a son, she became the mother of a future ruler. She was given palaces. Gold. Servants. Tutors for her child. Her name echoed in the palace halls. Her whisper could steer the course of kingdoms, more than any vizier or general. But the higher she rose, the sharper the knives became. In a harem where dozens craved power, envy wasn't a feeling. It was a blade. A smile could hide betrayal. A gift could be laced with poison. Even a servant's touch could be a trap. Behind the scents of rose and musk were plots, rivalries, disappearances. Where one woman became queen, another turned into a shadow. Or an enemy. And still, every woman there dreamed of rising. Because one night with the Sultan could bring everything. Or take it all away. She could say nothing, and still speak louder than the entire court. She could look, and shift the course of a kingdom. She could touch, and never be forgotten. A concubine of the East was never just beautiful. She was an actress, performing on a stage where the prize was her entire fate. She was a strategist, knowing when to be silent, when to change a sultan's mind with a single glance. She was a master of an art where every movement was ritual, every word, a trap, every step, a move on the chessboard. Grace was just the surface. Beneath it, strength, intellect, and years of dedication. Because true magic doesn't begin with the body. It begins with the mind. If you want to uncover more secrets of ancient seduction, hit the bell. And I'll tell you stories that were never meant to be spoken aloud.